Lunch and Learn. Thank you for joining us today. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Please remember to mute your microphones as you're coming into the meeting. Previous Lunch and Learns can be found on the TEIS Community Resource website, and I will drop that link in the chat here in just a moment. If you are exploring the website and you're looking for a specific Lunch and Learn and there's one that you are not able to find, just be aware we have put in a request to communications to get those uploaded. They are working on that, and those should be available before too long. We appreciate your patience. But I am going to hand it over here in just a moment to Ashley Janowski, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, Ashley, with the Regional Intervention Program, RIP. She's going to share some really wonderful, helpful information with us, and she also has a parent in the program joining us today. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and the parent. She also mentioned that if anyone has any questions throughout the presentation, you are welcome to unmute and ask your question, or you can put that in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Ashley. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. My name's Ashley Trasinski, and I'm with the Regional Intervention Program. And I always laugh. I'm like, don't worry about the last name. Like when I used to work with kids, I'm like, just call me Miss J too. So a little bit about myself, and then I'll hand it over to the wonderful Danielle, who's co-presenting with me today. I started working with kids over 25 years ago. I'm always like, don't do the math, y'all. I don't want to know what age that makes me. Let's just keep it at that. I started working with pre-K students as a teacher. And then through the years, I decided, I would working with kids, when you're a pre-K teacher, when you work well with behavior, you tend to get all the kids with behavior. And so I just kind of fell in love with it. I got my degree in clinical mental health counseling with trauma and abuse as the emphasis. I started interning and doing different jobs, ABA therapist. And then I found the RIP program and just fell in love with that. And I basically never left. I was the program coordinator in the Columbia site. And now I have been the technical assistant coordinator here for the past 9-10 years. And you can see I'm doing the math because I gauged my time at RIP with my children. I was super pregnant at every one of my interviews from the program coordinator in Columbia to the TA here. I have 3 kids. I have a 12-year-old, 9-10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So that's a little bit about myself. And I do have to say, I just have to give a kudos to you all because I am a proud parent of a kid that also used TIS services. My youngest one, we were in it when he was 18 months all the way up till he transitions to the school services for speech and language services. So I just appreciate so much that you all do. And I think this partnership between the RIP program and TIS is so useful. So I really hope that you all gain a lot from this presentation today. And then I have our wonderful Danielle with us. Danielle, do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Danielle Swanson. I am a phase 2 parent in RIP, which you'll learn in the presentation what phase 2 is. And I have a 5-year-old, Briley, which is in the program. And then I have an 8-year-old. I'm a working mom and wife. And actually my 2 boys, Bryce and Briley, they were in the TIS program as well, which gave us the intervention for speech for them. So it helped them, to get their start into pre-K and to kindergarten with Metro. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Danielle. That's wonderful. I look forward to hearing your story. Okay, so what we'll discuss today briefly, just mostly about who we are at RIP, getting to hear some stories, where we are located, and a little bit, if we have time, why it works. And mostly, like Emily set you up so well already, is we're here if you all have questions. So please feel free, ask questions. I'm always like, be brave, feel free to unmute and call it out. But I completely understand. For myself, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just going to drop in the chat. That is completely fine too. I'll try to watch the chat the best that I can. And we're really here for you all. So ask those questions, get the information you need about our program and how we can best support you all, and really partner together here today. So what is RIP? We call it the Regional Intervention Program. Y'all, I did not come up with that acronym, RIP. I know it's not the best one. I get it. But back in the day where we started, we'll talk about this a little bit later. It truly was the only early childhood intervention service in this whole region, in the whole kind of southern region in this area. So it really was the only regional intervention program. And so that's why they named it that. It was nationally recognized behavior training program for families of preschool children with behavioral and developmental challenges. We're all about families helping families. So it's really this collaborative kind of movement where we're working together with families, but mostly families are working with each other as well. Here are some reasons why families might come to RIP. But I do want to say this list is not all inclusive. You can see at the bottom, it's really about any behavior concerned to the family. So we're really here for any reason that the family might need. I say, as a mom of 3 myself, those moments as a parent where we're like, I don't know what to do anymore. Want to pull my hair out maybe. That's what we're here to help for. But some of our most common reasons that families come to RIP are things like aggression, those hitting, kicking, maybe that not listening, not non-compliance, running away from adults or eloping, separation anxiety, whether it's that true separation anxiety or that difficulty separating, tantrums, behavior troubles at school. We get a lot of referrals from teachers where they're having difficulty at school or maybe even have been expelled from school already. Mealtime problems, trouble sleeping, inappropriate language. So those are just to name a few. I don't know, Danielle, if you have anything to add, if you feel comfortable of what maybe brought you to RIP.
Yes. So my son Bryce, he's 5 now. We were seeing early on, at the age of 3, of like some aggressions. He would have tantrums. He would run away from us. So we were kind of like, scared to like take him out in public places. We were embarrassed by, bring him even around other family members because we're like, we just don't know, what to do. So actually, it's funny because his pediatrician had recommended RIP at his 3-year-old checkup, and I was kind of like, I don't know, he may just grow out of it. Let's kind of see how it does. And like as time went on, it wasn't getting any better. He was getting, kicked out and expelled from different daycares and different programs. So it's crazy because 2 years later, I went back to his pediatrician. I was like, hey, what's the name of that program you were talking about that helps, parents, and children with, behavior, issues and challenges. So yeah, so that's kind of where it started. I reached out to RIP and, we've been doing it since October. And today, it's funny, today's actually our last day. We completed phase 2 as of today. So today would be our last day of RIP. So it took us, 7 months, which I think they typically say anywhere between 6 to 8 months. But we finished in 7. So, but yeah.
First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm like, I knew you were graduating soon, but I didn't
yes. Yes.
Congratulations. But that is a great example, you all. And I see that comment, and so I'm going to answer in 1 second. Thank you, Charmaine, if I'm saying that correctly. But like Danielle said, and just to highlight, that is a great example that most commonly our families will hear about the program more than once before they enroll. Because exactly what what you said is like, oh, and you all might experience it too. I'll speak for myself. I'm in this field, and my son, before I went to TIS, I was like, oh, well, maybe he'll catch up with speech. Maybe it's just, and there's that hesitation sometimes. And I knew it, and I knew this service was available, but I still needed to kind of hear it and kind of sit on it a little bit and I guess kind of get to that get through that process myself before I was ready to make that call. And we have that a lot with RIP too, right? Where you hear it and you're like, this is a great resource. And I know it's a great resource and I know it can help. And oh, I'm not quite there yet. Maybe I'll just catch up. So this is where y'all can come in and again, we partner with pediatricians and we partner with teachers and we try to partner with everyone we can in the community. So that when your friend that went through RIP, like Danielle, can be like, hey, I went through it and it's great. And then when they also have a wonderful TES service coordinator like yourself or whoever else is on the call, can say, yes, this might be beneficial too. It can help that process and feel supported. So yeah, so thank you for making that point. That's such a valuable point. And then I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, Charmaine. But the comment in the chat, if you all see it, does a child have to be active with TEIS to be referred? And I don't know TEIS's standpoint. So Emily, or if anyone there has a different stance, please jump in. But on RIP's side, it's no. If y'all, anyone has a referral is welcome to, we will accept any referral. So if TEIS has a different policy, then you all can correct me on that side of things. But for our side, you're more than welcome. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Leanne. I'm like, oh, y'all, I work for the state. I'm with the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. So we have to walk that line. But yes, we really appreciate that. And I think I appreciate that comment. So I know here that anytime someone needs that support, and I think this slide shows, notice that the behaviors, I oftentimes will open the slide, especially when I'm training like educators. It's like, how many times have you seen this behavior? I haven't said it to you all because you probably have all seen it, but same with teachers, same with pediatricians. When we're out in the community, children under the age of 6 exhibit these behaviors, right? Tantrums are common for 2-year-olds. That's normal. And so we're here to help any concern in the family. So if that parent with a 2-year-old tantruming needs extra support, we can help that. And then also for the parent with 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds or 5-year-olds where they maybe have been kicked out of school a couple of times and needs more support, we're here to help them. So we're really just here for anyone. I hope that makes sense. Yes, thank you. Casey said she had a friend that went through the program and was not in TIS. Exactly. Yeah. So you don't have to be in TIS to go through RIP. And then I was thinking even just referring, like you can always refer to us either way. Thank you. And then Cynthia said, you work with children with different languages. Yes. So you are beating me to the punch, but I'll just answer the question now. So yes, we support all families. And so we often have interpretation services, and they're completely free. So not only is our program itself completely free, so that this program is free to all families, but we also provide interpretation services for our staff so we can better communicate to any families that maybe speak a different language to whatever that language the staff speaks. So what it looks like in practice is that if I'm just going to pick a language here. Let's say the staff member speaks English and the family coming to us speaks Arabic, let's say, that parent can have an Arabic interpreter and they're in person with that family that whole time for a program, and that's completely paid for. And then separately, if that child also needs interpretation, they might have their own interpreter with them, and that's completely paid for. Good question. Okay. So that's going to get into, and I was going to say, I can kind of give some more examples, but that sets us up so well of what actually happens at RIV. And so you can see why some children are coming to us, why people might be referred, really any concern to that family. And parents, when they're in program, they're with us 2 days, 2 hours each day per week. Depending on the site, we have sites across Tennessee. You'll see a map here in a few minutes. Anyone have a question? It might be various days. Our Nashville location, for example, runs Mondays and Wednesdays, and then they have different hours per program. So they have a 9 to 11 program, a 4 to 6, or a 5 to 7 program. And then depending on the location, they might have different days or different hours of program. During that program time, parents have set activities that they do. So they might work with a case manager and work on like behavior plans, or we call them BST sessions. Those are those individual sessions where they work with their child and the case manager is behind a two-way mirror, and they are kind of observing, and then they're able to give that parent that feedback. It's really a cool experience because it's kind of like an insight to, the child doesn't always know the case manager's there. Sometimes they figure it out, but they kind of get to see what naturally would happen. The parent will learn classroom strategies and how to practice social skills. And so we do trainings on those so they can actually work in a classroom. We have classrooms here on site, and the parents will actually be working in those classrooms because we know it's hard to work on that with their child. So having a classroom where you can practice with children that are not your own really helps you then at home be able to practice with your own child. Not only that, it really helps you be able to practice encouraging those social skills and friendship skills with their child when they're in when they're at like the playground or other more of those social environments. So like Danielle mentioned, she has more than one child. Being able to get trained on social skills and friendship skills is going to help her at home then be able to practice navigating when conflict arises between her two children. And then we also have work groups and parent support groups, which is where all the parents get together and they're able to talk about a topic or be able to support each other in a very collaborative way. So we're all about community here. If you all have heard about the like positive community norms and positive childhood experience kind of research that's coming out, we've been doing it for years. So it's really cool to see the impact, and the research behind that actually shows what's embedded in our program. Danielle, do you have any insights of things that you've done that I missed that you really want to highlight, or anything kind of that was your favorite that you've done in program?
Yes, I really enjoyed the parent support groups because it's helpful and it makes you feel like, you're not alone, because also it does help with as far as, some of your, friends or your coworkers may not be going through the same thing, but these parents, they're going through similar challenges that you're going through. So it's always good to get feedback from other parents. Like, for example, I'll say something like, Briley, where we had challenges with him going into the grocery store. And normally I would just put him in a cart because I'm like, I don't want him to run away. So like, I would kind of explain that to the other parents and they would give me feedback like, oh, maybe try this next time, or maybe I went through the same thing, do this when you go. And it's very helpful because like I said, it helps to where you're not feeling alone and you're not sure what to do, and these parents are going through the same thing. So it's always good to have that parent support. I mean, you have your caseworkers and, the other people at RIP to help, which most of those team members have went through the RIP program with their children, but it's always good to, hear it from someone that's also going through similar challenges. So I really enjoy the parent support groups.
Yeah, and you set me up so well. That truly, I believe, is like our secret sauce that makes RIP so special, right? Because you can do trainings, you can sign up for like a parenting class that's 7 weeks or however long, and we offer some, and I love them, and I suggest those too, and I might drop them briefly at the end. And they're great. They're great if you're not able to commit to RIP. So I'm all about those. And I think what makes RIP really work well is exactly what Danielle's talking about, is having that community and that community support when things are really hard, right? You're like, this is getting rough and I need some support. Yeah. Thank you. And then children then are they feel like they're at school. They come for 2 hours, right? 2 days a week. But they're in a classroom like setting, we say. They have like a little snack time. They do art projects and group games and toy time. But their focus is learning appropriate behaviors and how to play with friends. So again, being a pre-K teacher in the past, y'all, it would take me months to get those little kids to learn how to line up, right? Like it does if you talk to any of those teachers in school. It takes so long when they've never been in school before to learn some of those basic skills, like sitting on a carpet appropriately, or how to line up. And so those are things we work on. Like, how do you sit at a table, and how do you not grab all the markers and draw on the walls, right? And it sounds silly, but they're little, and that's what we work on. How do you ask for a turn for your toy, for a toy, instead of hitting your friend to grab it? So we're working on those social skills and how to act appropriately in the classroom. That will really set them up for success in school and how to interact with others. And then besides that, they do those sessions with those parents, like we kind of mentioned, where they're in a room with their parent working on skills, and the case manager is watching them. Those skills are really cool. I can't say it enough. They're designed around the parents' needs and wants. So, I've done ones of like working on homework for those older kids, like worksheets for like homeschool children. We can do things around homeschool activities. I've done ones about like leaving the playground. It's hard. So we've done whole sessions just around leaving a playground, where they were actually on the playground. The two-way mirror was inside the building. So I was inside the building and they were outside and they were leaving the playground. I've done ones on what else? Like cooking dinner kind of things. I mean, you can really get into some things that can really help generalize to the home world and what could help with that. But that's what the children do. What was your favorite?
Yes, another training that I did was bedtime routine, like bath time, screen time, things like that, getting ready, brushing teeth, preparing for, nighttime, because that was challenging for us with transition. So that helps, like transitioning into different tasks and things that we need to do in order to get to bed. Like that, it's crazy, but that was one of the challenges that we faced was bedtime.
Yeah, and bedtime. And you brought up that word transition, and I forgot, I didn't think to say it, but that's so true. Transition's such a hard time for kids, and we purposely build in transitions about every 15 minutes in our classroom so that they can practice, and as parents we can practice setting up transitions with kids. And
Yes.
I will say, as a parent, that's helped me so much at home with transitioning my kids like to the car, and how to set them up when we go to the doctors and things like that. And so that too, that's something that happens with kids at home, that they learn here at RIP in those classes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a little video. This talks about the regional intervention program, sums up hopefully what we've talked about already, and then you get to hear some parent stories as well. Again, just to emphasize, we are a free program, and then we'll set up talking about, we have 2 phases of treatment. Danielle mentioned already, she's wrapping up you've done phase 2, now you're graduating. And we'll talk a little bit more what that means here in a minute.
It's going to give you a new mindset on how you manage behaviors, and you feel stronger on the other side as a parent, for sure.
I wish every parent could know these things before they have a child. Even if it's just like the first 2 strategies, I think everyone could benefit from knowing.
They're not alone. There are other people going through similar things, and that there's hope.
The community that's built in one of our RIP programs, I can't describe it. It's why people stay. It's why people complete the program. They're making life changes in their children's lives and their lives, but they're also supporting other parents in the program, and that is valuable to them, and they need that support. They end up having play dates together because they both know how to manage the behavior later on, and that's really exciting to see on this side. It was unbelievable to go through on the other side.
Seeing families leave confident and empowered, like I felt when I was done, is my favorite thing, to just see the change in the children, the change in the parents. That's what makes it worth it.
Knowing that we're making a difference. You can't say that dealing with challenging behaviors in the moment's fun, exactly, but coming out the other side, it's extremely rewarding.
It is a parenting program, so you come here to get help with your child, but it's not a typical therapy program because you're not dropping off your child and then just getting a report later. I think that's what makes it so special, is getting a hands-on opportunity to work with your child and get immediate feedback, as well as, the most beautiful thing, getting support from other parents who are also enrolled.
When we first came to RIP, I couldn't, he was 3 years old. He wanted to play with all the friends in the neighborhood, and the behavior was just out of control. We couldn't get a play date to save our lives at that time. Yeah, and it was sad, and I felt like a really horrible mom, and just didn't know what to do. It was at our wits' end, and most of the families that come to RIP are feeling similar to that. It was very early on in the program, and my son I was hearing some of his behaviors come out, and another parent passed me in the hall, and I was visibly shaken. I was dealing with that I was embarrassed and visibly shaken, and she looked at me, and I'll never forget, she said, "There's no judgment here. We're all going through the same thing." And she stood with me there in that moment, silent, just to be with me there. And that was comforting, and there was support there. And I wasn't alone in that moment, so.
It's not unusual to have a family come in with a child that they feel that they can't take anywhere. They can't go out to eat, they can't go to the grocery store, they can't go hang out at friends' houses. And that changes, where they are able to just go to McDonald's and have the kid play on the playground and it be normal.
After we learned some strategies, we saw some success through the program. The behavior was changing, but more so I was changing the way I was parenting my son and my other 2 children. I have 2 other children. that are older than he is. And things changed for us. And I had more confidence, felt more able to go out and do things, and didn't feel like I was going to lose him at an amusement park or at the mall at those times.
I am a parent graduate. I have a 9-year-old son who I went through the program with. I guess it was just life-changing. I see my kid differently now. I see humans differently now after coming through RIP. This gives me an opportunity to share my experience and my excitement for the techniques and strategies with people, and hopefully change their lives at least some amount close to the way mine was. There's just nothing like RIP, and if you have an opportunity to tour and find out more about it, do it, because you might be surprised.
So I have a link at the end, a QR code that you can scan. It has that website. So I hope you check us out. You can set up a tour. I would love for you all to come visit us. We have our main Nashville branch, but also there's sites across the state. You can come see us. My favorite part is Little Miss Hazel. That's just dancing in the background. So I have to say that she's a sweetheart. And she's not so little anymore though. But anyways, so the thing is, yes, I sure can. I would be happy to share the slides if you want, Emily, with you. And I can drop the link to the website. So the thing is, it's not a quick fix. Behavior is not a quick fix. If you think about it, research shows that for every year a behavior has been in place, it takes at least 1 month of consistent intervention across all settings to see measurable and lasting change. I was, I guess, kind of half joke, but if you ever think about like whenever you like changed a garbage can in your house or something like that, and how often you go back to that old spot to throw something away, or if you've moved, how often you keep getting off on that wrong exit to go back to that old place. It's really hard to kind of switch and change that behavior. And it's true for actual like ingrained behavior of acting out a certain way. So the good news is for our littles is we're catching it early, that it's might only be 3 or 4 years or 5 years in place. But it still takes months to change, and that's working on it consistently. So it's going to take time. It's not a one-size-fits-all intervention. That's why we have consistent meetings with case managers to really partner with that parent. We say at RIP all the time, we try to be the experts in RIP in our program, but you're the expert in your child. So we don't know it all. So we're working with you. You tell us about your child. You help us figure out what you think is going to work. And we're going to teach you some RIP strategies, and hopefully together we can figure out a plan that's going to be successful. Phase 1 is where we call active treatment. It's where the case manager is meeting consistently with that parent. The parent is getting lots of training to be in the classroom, training to learn those social skills to be in the classroom. There's a lot of learning going on. On average takes 18 to 32 visits for that phase 1. And then phase 2 now is where that parent and child generalize their skills. Now the parent's taking the lead. They're leading in the classroom as newer parents are now learning the skill. They can be that leader. They're doing different tasks in the building, like giving tours or helping set up lesson plans or pulling toys. Again, like helping with that child development space. Doing trainings with me, things like this, right? Different ways to really solidify that knowledge. I think of it as that lecture versus lab. If you think back to like high school science or college science, if you took any college science courses, where that phase 1 is that science lecture where you're getting all that knowledge, and then phase 2 is that where you go to the lab and actually put it into place. Danielle, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add with any of this about it not being a quick fix or.
Yes,
feeling
it's
for
definitely not a quick fix. And Bradley, he's not perfect per se, but we're using the strategies and the techniques that we use for RIP to, help us with any challenges. Like, I would say that the behaviors that he did have, from October, those have been, eliminated. I know that, like I was saying, that as he gets older, we'll have more challenges, but with the techniques with RIP, like, I'm very confident that we can, get them under control, and get him where he needs to be. Phase one, like you were saying, it's a lot of information to take in. You're not, as confident because you're learning everything. But once you get, towards the end of phase one and you go into phase two, you're more confident. You're able to help those parents that help you, gain those skills and the confidence to, take on any challenges. So, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, exactly. And again, that kind of plays into that community aspect. Like you're building
Mm-hmm.
that community, and then that grows that confidence too.
Mm-hmm.
You said it takes about 6 to 9 months to complete, and Danielle said so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's right in the middle. Well, not in the middle, kind of on the lower side was 7
Yeah.
months. And we have some other services involved in our program. So we have our main program where they're coming, but outside of that, we understand, like that research shows that we really want to be consistent across all areas. That means that, the parents are learning these skills, but if there are behaviors showing up in the classroom, we want to help support the classroom, right? And so we have childcare and school intervention services, where we can go into the school and help support that teacher, through giving some tips and strategies or observing the classroom, going to IEP meetings, whatever that might specifically look like that school needs. Really just partnering with that school. We have consultation services. This could be providing kind of a screening for speech or occupational therapy. This is not providing any of those services. This is a lot of times, honestly, where we partner most with you all, where there might be an identified need, and where a parent might be maybe unsure, but kind of interested in getting some more information. And then once that screening's done, we'll see, okay, yeah, that helps the parent kind of see like, well, maybe there is more of a need than I thought or realized. And then we'll refer to you all. And then we have liaison services, which is after that parent graduates. We still help support. We know new behaviors can pop up. There could be additional needs, a new teacher next year that maybe might, want some support just to help with that transition, right? And so 2 years after that child graduates, or up to age 8, we still can help support any way that that parent needs. So they can give us a call. We can help with the behavior plan. We can do those childcare school interventions, consultation services, whatever they need. And then for our communities, and we can give tours, presentations like this one or other ones involving parent engagement, strategies to help with behavior management, ACEs, positive childhood experiences, you kind of name it, anything under the umbrella. And we have internship opportunities. And what's the beauty of all this is all of it is free. The tours, presentations, and of course our programs itself. We're all free funded through the state government and federal Block Fund. Okay, so what I do want to say is I see a comment about the ages we serve and where we are located. And I don't want to, I did see it and we'll get to it in just a minute, but I do want to say we started in 1969, way back out of the Peabody School of Vanderbilt, with our hub being in Nashville. but currently we are spread out through the state. And so kind of to answer those questions in the comment, we are now located across the state of Tennessee, and we are actually located outside the Tennessee as well, which I hope you all see is so special that Tennessee has this program, because, you know, this is unique to us and other states are wanting this program, that's Tennessee specific. We have, let's see, we have our only West Tennessee location is Memphis. And you're right, Jessica. Currently, there are no plans to expand. However, I always suggest if there's any like recommendations or anything, please email me. We'd love to have any suggestions that you all have. So I would love to have an email if you have any suggestions. So thank you for bringing that up. Because yeah, I would love that as well. And then Lysanta, if I'm saying that correctly, asked about the ages. So we say under the age of 6 is who we serve for children. However, some of our sites, such as the Clarksville and the Columbia site, actually start at 18 months and go up to the age of 6. The rest of our sites start at age 2 and go up to the age of 6. So if you live around the Clarksville, Columbia, you can start referring a little bit younger at 18 months. The rest we ask to wait till 2-year-olds, and then up to the age of 6 is the oldest cutoff for all of our sites. Great questions. As far as enrollment, anyone is welcome. Like I said, it's free, but kind of like what Jessica maybe was kind of pointing out, I think the hardest challenge is there does need to be one consistent caregiver that attends every single program. So again, kudos to Danielle, right? That was our caregiver, our parent that came to every program. And they do need to be able to get to that site location. So they can choose whatever site is closest to them. We've had some that choose one that's closest to where they work. Some, of course, closest to where they live, like with their home location. But they have to be able to like somehow drive or access that location, somehow get to that location. And that's our eligibility requirement. So under the age of 6, and then somehow get to that location that they choose. Any questions with eligibility or about the program itself? Great question, Cynthia. So Cynthia asked, do you work with children with special needs such as autism? Yes. And actually, when we started in 1969, this program was created solely for children with autism. And then what they found was people were like, well, my child isn't diagnosed, but they still need help. And so they kind of were like, well, let's try it with children that aren't diagnosed. And it worked, right? And so whether they're diagnosed or not, it really does work for everyone, because it is just positive behavior focused. So yes, we do. And anyone else? I saw a hand raised. I'm trying to say, I think it's Robert. Robert, did you have a question?
Yes. I'm sorry. My chat function is not working for some
reason.
reason.
Oh, no, I love it.
That's
love to hear your voice.
So I'm not sure if I missed this information before. I was wondering what a typical frequency, for a parent to go into RIP. Do they go in maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, and for how long? Lots of the parents' work that that I'm working with and things like that.
Yeah, great question. Danielle, did you want to answer it, or do you want me to answer?
You can answer.
Okay. Yeah, they typically go in 2 times a week, and then it's 2 hours each day.
Mm-hmm.
And so different programs run at different times, but it's actually a set time that they will program runs. Great question.
All right, great. Thank you.
No problem.
In addition, I know, we're in Clarksville, so I'm in Clarksville.
Yes.
And my understanding is it's kind of a payback, kind of what you guys are describing, so the parents train the next set of parents, train the next set of parents, train. But I mean, there's still some sort of lead, person, who is that accurate?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So there is a program coordinator out there named Kira, who's wonderful. That's And then they have other staff there. So they'll have a parent case manager. That's a parent that went through the program. They provide that parent peer support. So fully graduated, now is hired on as staff. They have a classroom coordinator, typically a parent that also graduated the program. And then they have a resource consultant as well out there. So they have those hired on staff. And then they have all those wonderful phase 2 parents, kind of like Danielle, that are not yet graduated, but are far enough along that they can still provide that parent or that peer support because they've got
Okay.
those tools under their belt.
Thank you very
question.
much. And
No problem.
we appreciate you, Danielle, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? So real quick, as we're kind of wrapping up today, I do want to touch on this idea that, you know, a question that comes up often is like, well, does it work? You know, there's so many behavior programs out there. I'm not hip. I mean, you can probably tell I'm not hip, but my oldest child that's now in middle school likes to tell me how I'm not hip too. He reminds me, and all his friends have TikTok. He doesn't, but all his friends have TikTok. And so I know it's out there now with TikTok and all the parenting stuff, right? And so you can see all the different parenting and behavior techniques that are out there. And it's really hard to navigate like what works and what doesn't work. And what I will say is, you know, we've been around for way over 50 years now, since it's been 1969. And there's a reason why we stood the test of time. We're not outdated. It's positive behavior theory. And though we've made tweaks as new research has come out, don't get me wrong. You know, the thing is, we do have some studies to show why it works. And one of it, Danielle's pointed out already, is that community aspect. And you can, if you look into positive community norms, you can see why that's probably worked out that way. Another we lean on is our longitudinal study. I'll just hit some highlights real quick. And what this found is they looked at some RIP graduates. They took a group that graduated RIP, and 3 to 9 years after they graduated RIP, they checked in with them to see how they were doing. And after that 3 to 9 years graduation, what they found was the children looked statistically similar to their peers according to their teachers. And you know why this is important is that typically when we look at children with challenging behavior, we know their trajectory tends to be different, unfortunately. Typically, children with challenging behavior early on, we look at them 3 to 9 years later, they're usually getting suspended or expelled from school. You know, teachers are rating them differently or as troublemakers, right? And the fact that these teachers are like, no, I can't tell any difference is huge. Also, in this 3 to 9 years post-RIP, parents demonstrated skill retention. And guys, I cannot tell you what I ate for breakfast the other day, right? Like I can't tell you what I did last weekend. My memory is not that good. And to say 3 to 9 years after completing a parenting class, that those parents are not only remembering the skills, but currently using them is huge. And I think it's to show because there is that hands-on practice piece of the classroom. And it is a little bit longer, right? We are working with the parents like Danielle with that 7 months to really practice the skills. We have these structured check-in points to make sure that hopefully the skills are understood before they graduate. Then we took that same group and we looked 20 to 25 years post-RIP. And so now you think about these RIP preschoolers are now adults, right? They were all, you know, let's say 4 to 6, you know, maybe some toddlers in there, but they're all adults now. And all of them, but one were employed in higher education or employed or enrolled in higher education, excuse me. All but one graduated from high school. And the one that didn't graduate from high school and earned their GED. There were no adolescent or adult instances of aggression or social antisocial behavior. which again, like if you looked at typical trajectory, that typically wouldn't be the case. And this is my favorite one. The 50% that were parenting, so now the RIP kids are parents themselves, they reported no behavior challenges from their own children. Does anyone have any guesses why they think that might be? I'm making you all think now, and it's like the end. So why are the RIP kids that are, yeah, sorry, Robert, yes?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I talk too much because they applied the same strategies to the other children, maybe.
Yeah, it's 100%. And I'm glad you talked. 100%. So now they're doing the RIP strategies that their parents do. So some of the children even reported that they don't remember going to RIP. I mean, they're in preschool. They don't even remember going to the RIP program, but they're using the same parenting strategies. So they're naturally using these positive behavior management strategies. So they're reporting no behavior with their own children. And so what we're doing is this generational change with this behavior. So we're making this lasting impact, which is huge. Skip this one. And so this is like, if you were to visualize our program, what it would look like. And all I want to point out is notice the parent implementation piece is bolded because that's our most important. That's impactful. That's what we do, is building that connection between parents. But we also utilize other key elements like data, that behavior theory, like we utilize ABA-informed applied behavior analysis, and management by objectives to make sure we're hitting these goals, so that just like those cohort that the researchers use, the same kiddos that are going through today are getting the same fidelity measures to make sure we're hitting those same goals, and it's just as impactful. And here's some quotes. We feel better equipped to handle problems, and we now have the skill set to troubleshoot new behaviors, to create new rules, and to see real change both with our children and ourselves. And knowing that there are more parents that are going through the same struggle and sharing our victories and struggles made me feel like I was not alone. Leave this up. This is my email. This is the QR code. I will attempt to drop the link in. If you have any questions though, see if I can, please don't hesitate to let me know. Danielle, do you have any final thoughts of the RIP program or anything else you want to share?
No, I just want to say that I really appreciate the RIP program. It's been a blessing to my family. Like literally, me and my husband, we were just at our wits' end, and we were just like, we did not know what else to do. So with the RIP program, it really has, like I said, we have an older son, but it really helped us, come up with the techniques to figure out and get through the challenges. And for me, RIP was kind of a little bit of a reprogramming for me as a parent, because the way that, I was raising our older son, I couldn't do it the way I, was brawling my younger son. So it really was an eye-opener. And when you brought up the statistics about 50% of the RIP, children, how they are parenting their kids, I believe it, because I was raising my children how my parents, raised me, and, so the techniques weren't working. So I'm like, I got to figure out something else. So RIP has really, really blessed my family. And, it's been a long 7 months. And like I said, tonight is my last, night at RIP. But we're really going to miss RIP, but we're going to take everything that we've learned and continue to grow. So I just wanted to say thank you to RIP.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And thank you guys for all you do. Like I said, we've seen years and years of this wonderful partnership between TEIS and RIP. And so I hope you all see how well we can partner together with, bring families to RIP, as you all see these behaviors where that parent needs more support, needs more of that community, or just there's more of that behavior where the child needs more of that support, more of the social skill building and things like that, please refer to us. Of course, we continue to refer to you all as well. Are there any other questions, or Emily, I'll pass it to you if there's any other you to
Thank
say.
you. This was so wonderful. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Ashley. Really, really wonderful information. I know that there will probably be a lot of EIs and service coordinators on this call that will be providing this information to families and hopefully being able to reach out to you all. I'm also really excited to say that this Lunch and Learn is going to be a two-parter. So we're going to have Ashley come back in July.
To say that.
No, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. We're excited to have RIP come back and join us for the July Lunch and Learn, and they're going to cover information about the principles that guide the work of RIP. I will say that Lunch and Learn will not be recorded. I just want to make everyone aware the July Lunch and Learn where RIP will return and do their part 2. Just due to copyright reasons, that one will not be recorded. So everyone that is able to attend, please be sure that you join that one. It's going to be a lot of great information. However, we won't be able to record that one and put it on the community resource website, but there will be more information coming out in TriStarts and staff update to promote the Lunch and Learn and provide information, a description of what you can expect for that one. But just to back up a little bit, our June Lunch and Learn will be June 25th. We're going to have an SLP with High Hopes complete a Lunch and Learn for us regarding pediatric feeding and swallowing. So we look forward to hopefully seeing everyone back in June for our June Lunch and Learn. Again, that's June 25th, 11:30 to 12:30 Central Standard Time. I have dropped the link for the FormStack survey for today's Lunch and Learn in the chat, so you can complete that, provide feedback, as well as get your certificate or your kickback email that indicates that you attended today. So thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you next month. I'll hang out. It's about 3 minutes till. So if anybody has any questions or concerns, feel free to hang with us for a couple minutes longer. It does look like, please share the slide. I would like to read. Okay, so the slide with the QR code, when I will submit a request to our communications team to have the Lunch and Learn from today uploaded to the community resource website, and the slides will be available on the community resource website after that request is completed by communications. You'll be able to locate that there, and that slide with the code will be there. But Ashley, if you maybe want to just throw that back up on the screen for a second, that would be awesome. Were there any other, let me look back, see if there's any other questions. Yep, perfect. Ashley, thank you so much for putting the date in there. We're going to put that slide back up, but also, Carolyn, just be aware the slides from today's presentation for future reference will be available on the TEIS community resource website. Give communications a little bit of time to get that information uploaded, but it will be found there. I think that was all of the questions that we had. There we go. There's that slide and the QR code. But yes, thank you both. Such wonderful information. And it's just been so great having a parent that's been a part of the program to share their experience. Like that's, I so appreciate you joining us today.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of comments in the chat about how helpful this information is. All right.